It was one of those scorching summer afternoons in downtown Los Angeles where the sun seemed to punish the pavement and every face reflected either struggle or success, rarely anything in between. On the edge of a bustling financial district, where shiny black cars hummed past like mechanical sharks and men in suits walked fast with purpose, a small boy stood still. He couldn't have been more than 10. His tattered t-shirt hung loosely on his thin frame, jeans ripped, not the designer kind, but the kind that told stories of kneeling on hard concrete and days without proper laundry. His hands were dirty, his face streaked with sweat and city dust, and his eyes, those eyes, held something more powerful than words. Hunger. Not just the kind that tightens the stomach, but the kind that begins to devour dignity. He clutched a wrinkled dollar bill, fingers trembling, and approached a man near the entrance of a luxury building. "Sir," he said, voice cracking from dehydration, "I just need $10. Please. I haven't eaten since yesterday." The man, distracted by his phone, barely looked up. "Sorry, kid, I don't carry cash." And just like that, the boy was invisible again. People passed him like wind around a lamppost, dodging the awkwardness of his plea, pretending not to hear. But still, he stood there, repeating his request to stranger after stranger, each no heavier than the last, until he saw him. The man with the silver watch. He wasn't like the others. He wasn't rushing. In fact, he stood quietly beside a sleek black Rolls-Royce, sipping coffee from a porcelain cup, a real cup, not paper. He looked important. The boy hesitated. Something about this man felt different, maybe dangerous. But hunger screamed louder than fear, and so, heart pounding, he walked over and softly said, "Sir, I just need $10 to eat." The man slowly turned his head, eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. There was a pause. Not silence, because the world still roared around them, but the kind of pause that holds power. Finally, the man took off his glasses, revealing calm, intelligent eyes. $10. He asked, voice smooth, practiced, calm like someone who always had more than enough. "Yes, sir," the boy whispered, "just enough to get a sandwich or something." The man crouched slightly, examining the boy as if studying a mystery. "What's your name?" "Tyson," he said. "Well, Tyson, what would you do if I gave you $100 instead?" Tyson blinked, confused. I don't know, I'd eat. And save the rest." The man nodded. "Good answer. But what if I told you, money isn't your real problem?" Tyson stared, not understanding. The man stood up straight and said, "Come with me." The boy hesitated. Stranger danger, right, but something about this man's voice felt honest. The kind of honest that doesn't need to shout. "I'm not going to hurt you," he added, as if reading Tyson's mind. "Just come. You look like someone with more potential than pity." So Tyson followed him. They entered the Rolls-Royce, the seats like clouds against his bony back, the air conditioning a kiss on his sunburnt skin. As the car moved, the man, who finally introduced himself as Mr. Dalton, asked Tyson questions. Real questions. Where were his parents? Dead. Car accident, 2 years ago. Who takes care of you? Nobody really. His aunt lets him sleep in the garage but asks him to leave during the day. School. Dropped out after 5th grade. Too hungry to concentrate. What do you want in life? Tyson paused. Nobody had ever asked him that. I just want to not be hungry. I want to feel safe. Maybe have a bed. Maybe, he stopped, the words catching in his throat. Maybe someone to talk to. Mr. Dalton listened, not just heard, but really listened. Then he said something strange. Tyson, do you believe that sometimes the world puts the right people in front of us, not to give us what we ask for, but what we need? Tyson shrugged. I don't know. I don't think the world notices me at all. Mr. Dalton smiled. It just did. The car stopped. They were outside a tall building, glass and steel, like something out of a dream. Come on, Mr. Dalton said. Tyson followed him inside, barefoot on polished marble, eyes wide at the chandeliers and elevators that whispered closed like magic. On the 38th floor, they entered an office where assistants nodded and bowed to Mr. Dalton. Turns out, he wasn't just rich, he was the rich CEO of a massive tech company. Worth millions. Tyson sat across from him at a conference table the size of his aunt's garage. Mr. Dalton poured him water, then made a call. Soon, a warm meal arrived. Tyson devoured it, not even embarrassed. The man just watched, patient, until the boy wiped his mouth with his sleeve. "Feel better, Mr. Dalton asked. "Yes, sir. Good. Now I want to make you a deal." Tyson looked up, heart racing. "You said you needed $10. I'm going to give you something better. A chance. You're going to come back here every day after lunch. I'll pay you $50 a week to help out around the office, cleaning, organizing, small stuff. In return, I'll also give you lunch every day. But only if you keep showing up. Can you do that?" Tyson nodded furiously. "Yes, sir. I can. I will." "Good, Mr. Dalton said. "And if you do this for 6 weeks straight, I'll enroll you into a private school. I'll pay for it. Uniform, books, everything. But you have to earn it." Tyson couldn't speak. His throat tightened. Tears welled. Nobody had ever offered him anything that wasn't a leftover or a lie. "Why are you doing this?" he whispered. Mr. Dalton leaned forward. "Because once, a long time ago, I was you. And someone gave me a chance. And just like that, the world shifted. One man's $10 became a doorway to a new life. But this was only the beginning." Tyson had no idea how many storms he would face, or how much strength lived inside him. But for the first time, the pain didn't feel permanent. For the first time, he believed he might be more than a hungry kid. He might be seen. He might matter. And maybe, just maybe, his story was worth telling. Tyson showed up the next day, just like he promised, wearing the same torn clothes but walking taller, straighter, as if hope itself had stitched a new spine into his back. The receptionist smiled at him now, called him by name. He took the elevator alone, pressing the button to the 38th floor like it was a golden key. Mr. Dalton wasn't waiting with a test or a speech, just a simple nod and a list of things to do. Arrange papers, wipe down the glass board, take the empty coffee cups to the kitchen. But behind each task was something bigger: trust. Each act of responsibility was a step on a staircase Tyson had never been invited to climb before. Every afternoon, after doing his duties, Mr. Dalton would give him lunch, hot meals that made his eyes water with gratitude, and then talk to him. Not just at him, not down to him, but with him. They'd talk about life, books, what success meant, what pain could teach a person. "Pain is not your prison," Dalton told him once, leaning forward with sincerity in his voice. "It's your professor. It's teaching you who you are and what you're made of." Tyson listened, absorbing those words like dry soil soaking in rain. Each day, something in him grew. The 6 weeks passed like a dream wrapped in reality. Tyson showed up, every single day, never late, never lazy, never asking for more than what was given. But it wasn't just the food or the money that kept him coming, it was the feeling that he mattered. That someone expected something from him, believed in something inside him that he wasn't even sure existed yet. And when the 6th week ended, Mr. Dalton kept his promise. He didn't just enroll Tyson in any school, he enrolled him in one of the best academies in the city. Private car rides, fresh uniforms, brand new notebooks. On that first morning, Tyson looked at himself in the mirror and didn't recognize the boy in the reflection. His hair was neatly trimmed, his shirt tucked in, his shoes polished. He looked human. He looked like he belonged. But school wasn't easy. The kids were different. Their words were sharp with privilege. They didn't understand his silences, didn't relate to his eyes that had seen hunger and loneliness instead of birthday parties and beach vacations. Some called him charity case. Others whispered behind his back. But Tyson didn't quit. He couldn't. Mr. Dalton had told him, "You don't need them to believe in you. Just believe in yourself long enough for the truth to show." So he studied hard. He stayed quiet when insulted, and strong when tempted to give up. And slowly, very slowly, the walls began to crack. One day, during a math test, the smartest kid in the class leaned over and whispered, "Hey, how did you get that answer?" Tyson glanced at him, this boy who once called him dumpster boy, and simply whispered back, "Practice." That moment changed everything. Because when you rise through fire, people notice. When you don't snap, don't sink, don't quit, eventually, even your enemies start to wonder what you're made of. By the end of the semester, Tyson wasn't just surviving, he was winning awards. Academic awards, a writing competition, a leadership badge. He was finally being seen not for where he came from, but for where he was going. But the journey wasn't without heartbreak. One afternoon, as he left school, he found his aunt waiting outside, drunk, yelling, accusing him of thinking he was better now. "Just 'cause some rich man gave you a suit don't mean you're anything special," she shouted in front of the whole school. Tyson froze. Pain twisted inside him, but he didn't cry. He didn't respond with anger. He simply turned, walked away, and asked the school if he could stay in the dorms. Mr. Dalton made the arrangements by evening. "You're not a product of your past," he reminded him. "You're the architect of your future." Life went on. Seasons changed. Tyson grew. Taller, stronger, wiser. Mr. Dalton never stopped checking on him. He became more than a mentor. He became family. On Tyson's 14th birthday, they sat together at a quiet rooftop restaurant, the city lights blinking below them. "I've never had a birthday party before," Tyson admitted, staring at the slice of chocolate cake in front of him. "Never had anyone remember." Mr. Dalton just smiled. "Well, now you do. And from this year forward, you'll never spend another birthday alone." Tyson looked down, tears blurring his vision. "Why me?" he whispered. "Why did you choose to help me that day?" Dalton leaned back, his eyes looking into the past. "Because someone once gave me $10 and told me, don't spend it. Change it. And I never forgot what it meant. So I decided, I'd change lives instead of bills." That night, Tyson made a vow to himself. That one day, he'd do the same. He'd become the man who helps the boy in the dust. Years passed. Tyson graduated top of his class. Full scholarship to a university. Business degree. First internship. First apartment. Every milestone, he called Dalton to share. "You're making me proud," was always the reply. At 25, Tyson launched his own company, a youth program designed to find kids just like him, the invisible ones, the hungry ones, the ones no one expected to succeed. The program offered food, tutoring, mentorship. He called it chance. Because that's all he ever needed. And in the first year alone, over 400 kids received scholarships. Tyson's story spread, first in local news, then national media. From $10 to millions, the boy who wasn't invisible after all. People cried watching interviews, sharing the story online. But Tyson never did it for fame. He did it for the boy he used to be. The one standing barefoot in the heat, holding out his hand, not for money, but for mercy. One day, during a live TV interview, the host asked, "If you could say one thing to that man who gave you your first chance, what would it be?" Tyson smiled, looked into the camera, and said, "I'd say thank you. Not for the food, not for the money, but for seeing me when I didn't even see myself." The host blinked back tears. "And where is he now?" "Mr. Dalton." Tyson looked down. "He passed last year. Cancer. Quietly. Just like he lived, generous without needing applause." The audience fell silent. Tyson continued, "But I still hear his voice every day. Every time I feel tired, or scared, or small, I hear him say, 'Pain is not your prison. It's your professor.' And I keep going." Today, Tyson stands tall, not just in height, but in purpose. He owns his story. And he uses it like a torch, lighting the path for others still trapped in darkness. His company now operates in 11 cities. Over 7,000 kids have been fed, educated, and mentored. And every time a child asks him why he does it, he kneels down, meets their eyes, and says, "Because once, I just needed $10. And someone saw something in me." That's the story. A boy with nothing but a trembling voice and an empty stomach, met a millionaire who understood what it meant to be hungry for more than food. A boy who asked for help, and found a future. A man who gave a little, and created a legacy. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you walk past someone asking for a little, you'll remember this story. Maybe you'll see not the dirt on their skin, but the fire in their soul. Because sometimes the smallest kindness can spark the greatest change. Sometimes the boy in the dust is the man who'll build an empire of hope. And maybe, in helping him, you help yourself. Because giving doesn't make you poorer. It makes you eternal. It was a rainy evening in New York, the kind where the city's lights flickered like tired stars and reflections danced on wet sidewalks as if the world itself were remembering something. Tyson, now 30, stood on the stage of a packed theater where hundreds had gathered, not to watch a performance but to hear a story. His story. The audience held their breath as he took the microphone, adjusted his suit, and let silence settle for just a second too long. Then, with a deep breath, he began. 15 years ago, I asked a stranger for $10 because I hadn't eaten in 2 days. That stranger gave me more than money. He gave me purpose. Tonight, I want to give that to someone else. He looked out into the sea of faces, some familiar, some strangers, all silent. But this story isn't about success. It's about something far more important, being seen when you feel invisible. The room was still, hanging on his every word. Because the boy who once begged on sidewalks was now funding schools across the country, launching shelters disguised as youth centers, and creating technology that tracked homeless youth to bring food and medical care directly to them. But none of that could have happened without that one moment in time, a man with a silver watch and a warm voice who chose to stop and ask a boy's name. And now Tyson was about to return the favor, to life, to fate, to someone else lost in the same dust. After the applause faded, Tyson walked out the back door of the theater with his assistant. Close behind. Are you sure you want to do this alone? She asked. He nodded. Hope finds you in quiet places. He stepped into the rainy night, traded his suit jacket for a simple hoodie, and walked. Past restaurants with laughing people, past glowing taxis and honking horns, until he turned onto a side street where shadows stretched like long-forgotten memories. He saw him then, a boy, maybe 9, sitting under an awning, soaking wet, shivering, holding a cardboard sign that read, "I don't want to steal. I just want to eat." Tyson paused, heart pounding. This is it, he thought. The moment has returned. He knelt slowly, carefully, and said, "Hey. What's your name?" The boy looked up, startled, scared. "Jace," he whispered. Tyson offered a warm smile. "Hi, Jace. I'm Tyson. You hungry?" The boy nodded. Tyson reached into his pocket, not for money, but for a protein bar. The boy snatched it gratefully, tearing into the wrapper like it was treasure. "You all alone out here?" Tyson asked gently. Jace nodded, mouth full. "My mom's gone. Don't know my dad. They kicked me out of the shelter." The same pain, the same silence, the same hunger. Tyson exhaled and said, "I used to be you." Jace blinked, confused. Tyson continued, 15 years ago, I sat where you are. Same rain, same hunger. One man changed my life. I think it's time I do the same." That night, Jace didn't sleep under concrete. He slept in a warm bed at one of Tyson's shelters. He ate 3 meals the next day. He was enrolled in the Chance Youth Mentorship Program by morning. But what happened next was different than before, because Tyson was no longer the boy hoping for a chance. He was the architect of thousands. And Jace was the beginning of something bigger. Within a year, Tyson expanded Chance to international reach. Mobile clinics in India, mentorship in Ghana, a girls' leadership academy in rural Pakistan. He partnered with companies and governments. He refused to let poverty win silently ever again. But more than all that, he never forgot to visit the shelters. To sit with the kids. To ask their names. To hand out food not like charity, but like dignity. In every speech, every documentary, every podcast, he repeated the same sentence. Years passed. Jace grew, studied, graduated, just like Tyson had. And one day, Jace stood on a stage, much like the one Tyson had stood on, and said to the crowd, "My name is Jace. And I was homeless until someone saw me. Not because I earned it. Not because I asked for a miracle. But because one man believed that kindness is more powerful than pity." That man was Tyson. And I'm here to say, his dream worked. In the crowd, Tyson stood silently, tears in his eyes, clapping the loudest. Legacy doesn't live in wealth. It lives in the lives you change, in the pain you prevent, in the hands you hold when the world looks away. And in the quiet of a late evening, years later, Tyson stood at a small gravesite in a private cemetery. The headstone was simple. Tyson knelt beside the grave, placed a white rose, and whispered, "I kept my promise. I paid it forward. I became what you saw in me. And I'll keep going." The wind stirred, leaves rustled, and somewhere, perhaps beyond the stars, the man with the silver watch smiled. The story ends here for some, but for others, it's only the beginning. Because every time someone gives not money, but belief, every time someone chooses to see rather than ignore, a chain reaction